If anybody has a question that you want to message me privately, you can if there's a technical issue. And if you would like contact hours for the session, a code will be provided at the end for you to enter on a request form. Please be on the lookout for this code as it will only be provided once. To ensure that everyone gets the most out of today, we ask that all participants turn off their webcams, please, and your microphones. If you have questions for the presenters, please use the chat feature and I will pass them along at the appropriate time. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag OHSummit24, and I'll drop that in the chat, and also to share your thoughts. Thank you.
All right, welcome to our session, Designing for All, Leading Strong Tier 1 Family Engagement Practices in Your School. Our session is a preview of the upcoming Leading Multi-Tiered Family Engagement Institute in July 2025. Our presentation will help you design strong Tier 1 family engagement, emphasizing proactive, collaborative, and family-centered strategies. Let's get started.
Why is it not working? Oh, hello, everyone. Sounds like Jenny. There you go. We're good. Boy, it's so great to see all of you joining us here today. We normally like your cameras on, but there's a lot of us, so thank you for being here. I'm Barbara Boone, and I lead the amazing team at the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center, who are all themselves leaders, like my co-presenter. I'm a mom of 3 kids. The youngest is finishing graduate school at Case Western, and at the same time, I'm a grandma of the children of our oldest daughter and son-in-law. Audrey is 3, my favorite year, and also there's Lewis, who's just 2 months old. So best snuggler I've ever met.
And my name is Hadley Bachman, and I'm a Research Administration Management Consultant at the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center here at The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. I'm also the proud mom of a 10th grader at a local public STEM high school here in Columbus. And today we are talking about designing for all, or using universal design to collaborate with every family in our schools and organizations. I was so excited to hear Katie Novak today, and I'm really excited to continue building on her ideas in our session. According to Merriam-Webster, universal means including or covering all or whole collectively or distributively without limit or exception, especially available equitably to all members of a society. So when applied to family-school partnerships or collaboration, the idea of universal family engagement would describe inclusive partnerships and collaboration made available equitably to all members of the school community. However, as we heard this morning, common universal family engagement practices like that open house night that are widely practiced across the U.S., they're not truly universal the way that we're doing them in many places. They're inaccessible to many members of the community. Out of a sense of tradition or a lack of alternatives, most schools continue to offer the same events-based family engagement opportunities year after year, intending to reach all families, but falling short of this goal. So this question on the screen will guide our meeting together. How can I lead the universal design of strong Tier 1 family engagement practices in my school? A few key words I want you to think about. Lead. This is about your leadership, your initiative, your planning, and your vision. Strong. Here we're talking about evidence-based, effective, resulting in improved outcomes for students. Design. When we think about the word design, we're talking about planful and proactive, not reactive. And finally, practices. Something that is a practice is something that's routine. It's part of the fabric of what you are doing as a school. I also want you to know what we hope you will learn from today's workshop. I hope that you can walk away saying, I can identify the purpose of family engagement strategies. I can anchor family engagement in a student outcome goal. I can assess the universal family needs, preferences, and strengths of families at my school in relation to a goal. I can apply universal design principles to plan goal-oriented, centric strategies for engagement. and I can explain how the design of strong Tier 1 family engagement practices promotes a cycle of improvement. We're going to be introducing our content with plenty of opportunities to interact with ideas using both Mentimeter and a breakout room. This workshop's going to be an active learning experience. So when you do have that breakout room, if you can have your camera on for that portion, we would love to be able to have you be able to be really interactive with each other, because we know you each bring experience and knowledge today that are valuable to our learning environment.
So we're going to start by sharing about how a cycle of improvement is complementary and bolstered by our multi-tiered approach to family engagement. So the Ohio Improvement Process is Ohio's primary strategy for supporting Ohio school districts in building the capacity of their education system to improve instructional practice and increase student and adult learning in a continuous district-wide basis. So multi-tiered family engagement fits with this 5-step process used in Ohio and many other states to promote school improvement. It fosters collaborative discourse about student learning and family engagement that is responsive to identified needs. So we share the belief that improvement is everyone's responsibility. We can't have a one-size-fits-all approach, but we need to tailor our family engagement strategies to meet the needs of the families of our students. So for many of you, multi-tiered family engagement's not new. You've attended our prior sessions with us at the summit or other workshops or webinars. So join us on Mentimeter to share what are your current strengths as a designer of multi-tiered family engagement. So thinking of it as a cycle of improvement. And what are your biggest areas for growth, too?
We're actually just doing that in the chat.
Okay. Oh, just the chat. Alrighty. So here in our chat, so we've got the chat open. I hope everybody does. Are you strong or have room for growth in identifying those critical needs of your school and its families? So that's number one there, identifying critical needs. Room to grow, or you feel like you've got that one? Do you feel strong or have room to grow in selecting those relevant evidence-based strategies? So you've got a sense of need. I know how to do that, but boy, where do I find the practices? What are those evidence-based strategies? Do you feel strong or have room to grow in planning and in implementing a multi-tiered approach to family engagement? So really tailoring it. I'm seeing room to grow. All right, we're room to grow, and that's why you're here today. All right, are you strong or have room to grow in following through with the implementation of that plan? So you might know the needs, design that plan, but boy, then seeing it through, that's the hard work. That's really where the rubber meets the road. Got some room to grow there. All right, and then how about, are you strong or have room to grow around examining then what you've done and reflecting on that plan and then adjusting as you move forward? Hadley, we've got a lot of room to grow, and I think I would say I do too. So let's keep going.
Same. Thank you.
All right, so today we're working together in this workshop to learn about a multi-tiered approach to support our work to enhance collaboration with the families of all students. So in this approach, the first step is to consider and center family strengths, their preferences, their needs. Without knowing families, schools are guessing about how to partner with them. Centering the strengths and preferences and needs of families in our design for partnering with them helps schools to determine which approaches to keep, which ones to adapt to better fit families, and which we just throw out, right? We're going to abandon these. So time and effort are finite resources, so better alignment between schools and families also makes educators' work easier. Centering families and family engagement is deceptively simple. Putting the idea into practice requires relationship building, requires listening, and the knowledge of our community context, the history, families' preferences, and their needs. So let's be clear. We're not assigning families to tiers. Instead, we're planning our services, our programs, how we're communicating, how we are inviting families into collaboratively leading with us. We do this flexibly based on families' needs. And today we're just focusing on Tier 1, that universal family engagement, the school-wide system for family engagement designed for a meaningful partnership between school and all families. Now, before we go further, here's an aside. Multi-tiered family engagement is different maybe than the other multi-tiered systems of support for students that you already have in place in your school. So MTSS for students is based on student data. For example, your school may have a robust literacy MTSS program. You gather data on student reading progress, and you provide universal literacy instruction, that core instruction for all students in your general education class. And then based on student reading data, you may provide tier 2 interventions to small groups of students. You're monitoring their progress. And for students who don't show that adequate progress, you're going to step up your intervention. Tier 3, maybe individualizing that instruction and supports. So multi-tiered family engagement, however, is based on families. It's not directly connected to how you might be providing support for your students. So for example, all students receive tier 1 core instruction for reading. You communicate with families about their progress every quarter. You host events at the school. But for some families, that's not enough. They have additional questions. They're not answered by your regular communication, or they may have concerns about their child's progress and want to communicate more frequently with their teacher or request different assessments. They may have an interest in volunteering as a reading tutor. These parents need more or different opportunities than your tier 1 supports. These parents are ready for your tier 2 supports. For example, you would not plan a tier 1 strategy for all families to be tutors in your after-school program, right? But for some families, this is an opportunity they would like to have. It's for a smaller group of families. It taps into their strengths. You may have a parent who would like to be a parent representative on your curriculum team. That's intensive involvement. It's very individualized. That's a tier 3 family engagement opportunity. So multi-tiered families based on family needs, strengths, and preferences by centering families in our planning.
Anchoring in student outcomes means designing all family school engagement efforts to support goals for students. So Katie Novak talked a little bit about this today. Anchoring in student outcomes shifts the way that we think about family engagement. Instead of thinking about family engagement as an end in itself, we think of family engagement as a lever to achieve our goal, student achievement. We can envision student achievement like an ice cream cone, a sweet treat that you might order from your favorite ice cream shop. Imagine walking into this ice cream shop and you see a wall of many different levers, each representing a different flavor. The ingredients of each flavor of ice cream are like the tangible resources, curricular, material, human, that we put into use every day in our schools. We pull each lever because we need each resource to be successful. And the sweet treat that we get is student achievement. Now, the levers are different strategies that we use in and around our schools to get the most out of what is available to us in our schools. These include quality instruction, family engagement, positive behavior intervention and support, English language learner programs, school counseling, and more. Some levers are used more than others in our schools, but all of them have value in working toward our goal of student achievement. Educational leaders like you create annual plans for continuous improvement, and family engagement is one lever of all of the resources available to leverage for improving student outcomes. Yet often, the family engagement strategies included in school improvement plans are insufficient. Using multi-tiered family engagement will ensure a more robust, inclusive, and strategic program of family engagement as a lever for school improvement. And finally, we have that sweet treat, the outcomes you hope students meet and exceed from your school improvement efforts. So we want to take just a moment and make this really tangible, because we do a lot of things, a lot of strategies, those levers, without thinking about whether we are anchoring in student outcomes. So we're going to play a little game here. And we're calling this anchor or no anchor. So a little like deal or no deal, but anchor or no anchor. So please join us at Menti. This is where our Mentimeter comes in. Sorry about that. Our menti.com. So you can get there from the link in chat. Or by going to menti.com and putting in that code, or scanning the QR code on the screen. All of those will work. And we're going to have a series of questions, and you're looking for whether or not the strategy that's being used is anchored in student outcomes or not. So I'll show the code on the screen, and the first one is, and let me hide, I was going to hide responses. Let me hide responses for now. An elementary school teacher sends home activity suggestions for families to try at home to support their children's letter sound awareness. Is that anchored in student outcomes or not? Let's check. So most of us think that that's anchored in student outcomes. We see that there's an anchor in children's reading awareness, perhaps, and we're asking families to partner with us in that. Let's look at the next one. An elementary school hosts a fall costume parade for parents and caregivers to attend. Is that anchored in student outcomes or not anchored in student outcomes? Let's check and see what you said. That is not anchored in student outcomes. I agree with the majority of you. It is a very common family engagement activity, but there's not a clear anchor in the outcomes that we see for students in the future. Let's check another one. A middle school requests that families volunteer to park cars at sports events. Is this anchored in student outcomes or not anchored in student outcomes? Let's see what we've got here. We've got most folks saying that is not anchored in student outcomes. There isn't a clear link to student learning with this one. I would agree. And I think we have just two more. A middle school requests that families volunteer to join subject area committees with teachers to review and select new curricula. Anchored in student outcomes or not anchored in student outcomes? I'll show the join instructions again. I think a couple people just joined us in case you want to join in. Anchored in student outcomes or not anchored in student outcomes? This one is anchored in student outcomes. Excellent. And here the families are able to share their expertise in a way that might help join in with teachers' expertise around curriculum and might result in students having curriculum available to them that is the best possible curriculum to move them forward academically. And finally, a high school contacts all families of students missing more than 3 days of school in September to check in and offer support. Anchored in student outcomes or no anchor in student outcomes? And this one also, I would absolutely agree. This one is anchored in student outcomes. We know that when kids are at school, they're more likely to do well in school, and thus we have an anchor in student outcomes. Thank you very much.
All right, so before we go further, let's define a few key terms and provide examples. So one, a universal family engagement strategy is a strategy used by the school to collaborate with an entire population of families in the school. So an example could be that whole school event, the assembly, the open house night, conferences, whole school communications, whole school family surveys, the office number for all families to call, or a literacy backpacks that are sent home with every family. A student outcome goal is an intended outcome of an effort of the school, including family engagement. So this is what we described previously as the ice cream sweet treat. When we pull the lever on our machines, family engagement being one of those levers, examples of student outcome goals can include improved reading, just decreased absences from school, decreased office referrals, increased graduation rates, any other metric of student, academic, social, emotional, college and career readiness. Those outcomes are our student outcome goals. So when we're writing a student outcome goal, and you all, I'm going to go quickly here because I think you all are familiar with this, right? We want to recommend Katie Aguilar's strategy for this SMART goal or SMARTY goal, right? Strategic, specific, measurable, attainable. It's results-based, time-bound, and equitable. So strategic means the goal is aligned with larger strategic initiatives, right? We're pointing our arrows in the same direction. It's not random. Specific means that the activities of the goal are clear and understandable. Measurable means that an outside observer would know how to determine the degree of success. Attainable means that the goal is realistic, it's reachable. Results-based means that it's tied to student outcomes. Time-bound means that there's an endpoint for achieving the goal. And equitable means that our goal includes those that it's going to impact. So let's look at this goal in particular. By December 30th, so there's our time-bound, through implementation of a multi-tiered family engagement plan, that's attainable, we can make a plan. We will implement collaboration strategies at each tier, so it's specific, we're strategic here, to effectively partner with and learn from, so there's equitable, all students' families, measurable, we're measuring all, to improve student attendance by 20%. We've got an outcome there that we're looking for as part of our school's initiative to decrease chronic absenteeism. It's strategic there. It's part of an initiative that we have.
So we're going to give you 5 minutes to work on writing your own student outcome goal to anchor your multi-tiered family engagement plan that you might have in your school. So as you create your goal, you are going to aim to reach all or nearly all of your families. Remember, that's the purpose of multi-tiered family engagement, to anchor in student outcomes so that all students experience the benefits of effective school-family partnership and collaboration. We realize that this isn't nearly enough time to write the very best goal you could, so we wanted to give you a frame so you can follow this frame to write your goal in the chat. Don't hit enter until we say go. So start writing, but don't hit enter yet. So you can start with by and then give a time. Through the implementation of our multi-tiered family engagement plan, and then add any other strategies that you think that your school or organization might use. We will implement collaboration strategies at each tier to effectively partner. Add any other equitable outcome you might want. With, here put in results-based. What number or percentage of families? I've put all families in our example goal. You want 95%? 956 families? What is your results based? 2, and then what's your student outcome goal? To improve student reading by 20% as part of, and then make some alignment with your school improvement initiatives. Give you 2 more minutes for writing your goal.
Hadley, can you share the example again that's been requested in the chat?
Mm-hmm. And Mindy, also, I believe our slides are available on the Summit website. I'm going to go back to the frame in case anyone needs that. Give you 1 more minute. before you hit enter, I want to say that this is a safe learning environment. It is okay if your goal is not perfect, because has only been a few minutes that you've had to write this. Okay, everyone hit enter and let's see those goals. We have a waterfall of 3 goals. That's great. I love this. Well, this gives us time to read these. Oh, I love that one. Jenny, I want to hear more about Power Square. You and I need to have a conversation. Jackie, it's so great to see you here. These are great. So if you are still working on your goal, you now have 5, I think, great examples of goals that you can use to anchor a family engagement plan. This is wonderful. So one of these steps is to write a universal goal for your family engagement planning to drive your work forward. After anchoring firmly in a student outcome goal, the next step is to assess what your families need and want in support of this goal and what strengths they bring to the table. Families share many motivations that influence their decision to support their child's education and partner with the school. These include whether or not they see school improvement as part of what it means to be a parent in their eyes, how confident they feel when interacting with the school, and whether or not they perceive opportunities for interaction and involvement, their knowledge and skills for supporting their child's education, the time and energy they have to give for involvement, for the opportunities that are presented to them, and how these opportunities align with the family culture. Therefore, centering all families in family engagement, so taking that family-centric approach, means getting to know families' motivators for engagement holistically. Remember, to be family-centric, we need to know the families of our students, and we need to welcome their voice in initiative. So we have a series of questions that we want you to consider with your staff, and then lean in and learn some answers from your families.
All right, I'll read each of these questions as you read along or listen and reflect on your practice and how families are situated. Can we bring up the first one? So what do parents, thanks, and other caregivers see as their roles in their children's education? Do they see family engagement activities offered by the school as one more thing or as helpful for their child and their family? And how can the school help all families see there are roles that are a good fit for them to support their child's education?
Here's some questions to consider relating to family confidence. Do all families feel confident when interacting with the school? Do interactions with school staff value and respect all families? Or do interactions with school staff erode this sense of confidence through belittling or the use of jargon, through complicated policies and processes, or other complex systems? How can the school help all families feel confident when collaborating with the school?
Now let's consider some questions around welcoming families. Do all families perceive that they are invited? All families and welcomed by the school? Or does the school implicitly or explicitly communicate that some families are not welcome? How can the school express a culture of openness?
Here's some questions to consider around families' knowledge and skills. What knowledge and skills do all families have in support of that student outcome goal? How is the school communicating that all families have valuable knowledge and skills?
And now let's consider time and energy. What time and energy do all families have in support of the student outcome goal that we've chosen? And how is the school providing flexibility to accommodate a wide variety of schedules?
And finally, let's think about family culture. What family cultures are present in the school? What norms and traditions might families expect during engagement with school staff? What family traditions and values will support the student outcome goal?
All right, so universal design is about making things accessible to everyone in society. It's about breaking down walls and growing our opportunities to partner with all families. Universal design has been a framework applied in the design of physical and virtual spaces since it was first coined in the 1970s. Universal design can be defined as a strategy for making different environments and products usable for everyone in the most independent and natural way possible. The goal is to simply simplify life for everyone by making our environment, our products, our communications equally accessible, usable, and understandable by everyone through a user-centered design. So I'm going to go review 7 principles of universal design with you. And these are written for the design of buildings and web pages for that user experience, but we're going to apply them to our family engagement work. So principle 1, equitable use. So the design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. So our question for family engagement is, how do you ensure that all families have an equitable opportunity to engage? Principle 2 is flexibility in use, so that this design accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. We provide choice to families and adaptability to the user's pace. So how do you provide flexibility in your family engagement efforts? Principle 3, simple and intuitive use, right? So the use of a design is easy to understand, regardless of the user's experience, their knowledge, their language skills, or how much concentration, how much attention they're giving. How do you make sure that your family engagement efforts are simple and intuitive? And principle 4, perceptible information. The design communicates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of what's going on around them. Imagine a busy parent at home or at work. How do you ensure that your communications are easy to grasp, offered in multiple ways, like in person, live streamed, or in print for all of your families?
Principle 5 is tolerance for error. This means that the design minimizes hazards and the adverse consequences of accidental or unintended actions. So you might encounter this one as like a wet floor sign in a building. But in family engagement, we think about how can we make sure that families have adequate warning of those really important moments for engaging in their child's education. So, for example, making sure that all families know the importance of different decisions they need to make for their child. That's tolerance for error. Principle 6 is low physical effort. The design can be used efficiently and comfortably and with a minimum of fatigue. How does low physical effort, so thinking about that for family engagement, we really want to think about how we can minimize repetitive things we might ask families to do, minimizing the number of forms that they might have to repeat, filling out the same way, thinking about how would that apply to family engagement. And finally, size and space for approach and use. Appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use, regardless of user's body size, posture, or mobility. We think about providing adequate space for all different types of people. And applying this to family engagement, we want to think about how we're making space for all different types of family engagement. when we are planning for family engagement. So taking the time to reflect on, explore, and discuss these questions with families and staff will give your plan a stronger foundation. By centering families in family engagement, we will be better partners. So once you know your families well, you can strategically plan universal family engagement strategies in support of your student outcome goal. In the resource provided, there's a link in chat, and you can also scan the QR code. When you get there, you'll need to go to File, Make a Copy, or File Download, depending on whether or not you have a Google account. You'll be able to collect notes about universal family needs, preferences, and strengths in support of your student outcome goal. And just to be clear, we're not actually going to do this now in the session, but we did want to provide this resource so that you're able to do this in your own setting and with your own staff when you have time to really dwell and think about it and make a quality plan. So to recap, here are the steps that we just described for designing universally designed family engagement. And I'll pass this to Barbara.
All right. So step 1, anchor in student outcomes with a SMART goal, right? So we're centering families' needs, but we've got this student goal that we're aiming for. We center families' strengths, their needs, and their preferences. We consider universal design. So that's step 3. We've anchored in a student outcome. We're centering families. Step 3. Now we're thinking about universal design. What barriers exist in our current strategies? What other options do we have? And then step 4, plan strategies that match families' strengths and needs and preferences.
And just to note, those 4 steps also match the note catcher that Barbara put in chat. So this is just bringing together the different things that we spoke about in our session so far. Okay, so now we're going to have a moment to come back together and to think about how universally designing family engagement and the strategy of multi-tiered family engagement really connects with this idea of continuous improvement, the continuous improvement cycle, or the cycle of improvement. So you're going to access the note catcher, the second link that Barbara put in chat. You can also scan the QR code here. Go to File, Make a Copy, or File Download. If that's too much tech for you today and you just want to have a notebook paper open next to you, you could just scan the QR code so that you can see the questions, and then you can just write down your answers on a piece of notebook paper. It's really just so you can see what the questions are. And I'm going to give you about 4 minutes right now to look at the discussion questions and record your ideas to any or all of the discussion questions. Maybe one question really, piques your interest and you just want to write about that. Maybe you want to jot down your ideas to all of them. So you're accessing the note catcher and you're recording your ideas to any or all of the discussion questions. So we are going to go to breakout rooms in a moment to do a protocol called Constructivist Listening Protocol. So the purpose of this protocol is to create a space to become better at talking and listening in depth. And the protocol is fairly simple. You will join the breakout room. Each person will have 2 minutes each to practice explaining how multi-tiered family engagement creates a cycle of improvement. So what is that overlap between this process of anchoring and student outcomes, listening to families, strategizing what to do, and then implementing it? How does that relate to continuous improvement? You'll have 2 minutes each just to practice explaining that. Do not interrupt, to paraphrase, interpret, analyze, give advice, break in with a personal story. You'll just get that 2 minutes to practice talking with people. And then you're going to end with 3 minutes of open discussion time. And that time is a time to say things like, hey, I tried this out. It worked. It didn't work. This is what I liked. Do you have questions about this? This is what's working for me or not working for me. It's that open discussion time. I encourage you to try these breakout rooms. I know that breakout rooms can sometimes feel a little scary, but this is the best part of a conference when you get to connect with other people around the country. And I look through the list of names in here and I recognize so many of you. And I know that you're going to have this great opportunity to connect and meet other people in this session. So it's not a super long time. We're going to breakout rooms. Barbara's going to open them up, and we're only going to be in there, I think if you add it up, for 9 minutes. Part of your 2 minutes can be introducing who you are and where you're from. All right, we are opening breakout rooms now.
Okay, the room is filling back up again. I really, really hope that you had the opportunity to connect with someone new, to share some ideas, to ask some questions. So I hope that was a good time to connect for you here. So let's use the chat. Would you please with me? And what's a first step for you? What are you taking away today? It can be really any concept. What's your first step? Or as you're thinking about taking back this idea of a multi-tiered family engagement, how might you do that? So let's use the chat. We'd love to hear from some of you of sort of next steps for you. We're wrapping this up. We admit this was an advanced sort of session here. We dove in deep. And so I hope that was a comfortable thing for you. I hope you gleaned some good nuggets from that. So just what's a first step for you using the chat? Need buy-in from school leadership. You do. Whenever you come back from something like this where you've been away, you bring back some new ideas. You need to share it with leadership. Hearing everyone's perspectives, getting the right school staff to the table. Laura, that is so important. We don't want to do this alone. That would be the wrong way, right? We were talking about partnerships and collaboration, bringing the voices of the people impacted to the table. Doing an evaluation of your existing supporters. All right, and what sort of tier supports do they provide? That's great to hear. Developing trust with your staff. Identifying those barriers. And so then as we plan, we're planning in a way that doesn't just feed right into those barriers, right? But we're moving beyond them. Determining best strategies to hear from families. Thanks, Mindy. That we do need good to really consider how we're doing that from all families. All right, so we're wrapping things up here in the last few minutes. We would like to share some resources. So if you would like to know more, you want to dive more into this and you'd like to see more tools and resources that we have, here's a QR code. There is a web page on our website that is kind of a landing page for our MTSS resources. So you can search that on our website or you can use this QR code. It'll take you to that page. We also see there's an article that we wrote for educational leadership there about a multi-tiered approach to family engagement. And that may be a start for you, using something like that to kind of bring the idea up, have some colleagues read it, and then have that discussion to start moving things along. Thank you for everyone who's sharing, Josephine and Karen and Jamie, what you've shared in the chat. We also want you to know that if you are interested in more foundational basic family engagement and then multi-tiered, hearing about a multi-tiered approach, at this QR code on our website under professional learning, we have a seminar catalog that lays out for you a whole scope and sequence about foundation family engagement, multi-tiered family engagement, and really building on that. And we'll send you a digital badge to put under your email signature to show all of the hours that you are investing into your family engagement and learning, your professional learning. And our next slide here. So you can also stay in touch with us by signing up. We have what we call news and guidance for educators, but each one of them is dedicated to a topic of family engagement. So you'll see here we did one on home visits. Another recent addition was partnering with multilingual families. So you can go back and see all of the different editions. You can use those, but each one is a nugget around a topic of family engagement. And then our next resource, we also have what we call hands-on webinars. And these are not a whole series, not a seminar, but a single webinar. So we have one coming up soon on how to engage families of English learners. That's October 15th from 11 to noon. Registration opened on the 10th. Last day to register, though, is the 11th of October. So please, you can scan that QR code. Once again, you can find this on our website under professional learning, under our how-to webinars.
And I'll just say that the next in the series after this one is how to engage families of adolescents. And we just want to thank you so much for joining us today. And we will turn things back over to our moderator, to Bobby.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much to Drs. Hadley Bachman and Barbara Boone. If you'd like to share your gratitude for this session, please feel free to do so in the chat. I also have a survey link that I'm going to drop in the chat now, but we do only want you to fill out the survey one time. So if this is your last session of the day, please fill out that survey. If not, you may wait till the end of the day. It will be shared with you again. However, it's in there right now if you'd like it. And again, I appreciate both of you sharing your time and talent. And I think it's lunchtime, lunch break, right? Next. All right, great. Thank you.